There we
Hopefully
go.
they won't hold this against me.
Is that a spiff?
I wish. No, it's not.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, hey, you know, I smoke, but I only smoke the healthy cigarettes. I smoke the organic American spirits.
Yes. Yes. The tobacco.
Yeah.
American Spirit. Yeah, we can buy. I could buy that here.
Yeah, it's you know, I mean, for those who like to partake, I'm through having
Yeah.
all these ethical, moral
Oh, me too.
discussions with people, and
I'm over that, Todd.
you know,
what?
yeah,
I use it as plant medicine
yeah,
because that's what it is.
yeah, yeah,
If you
exactly.
use it in the right way, it's beautiful.
Anything, really, anything
Absolutely.
used in the right way,
Absolutely.
right? I mean,
It's everything about intention.
of course.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
Well,
hear
this is
me, I'm getting
pretty
off of,
cool, Todd.
huh?
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm neurodivergent,
What does that mean?
pretty much autistic, I suppose.
Neurodivergent? Is that what you called it? Wow.
Yeah. That's what the non-3D world call it.
The non-3D neurodivergent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we've been talking about this on the show.
Wow. Cool.
You know, off and on a lot of subjects, but over the last few days, the reality that those identified as ADHD, ADD, Asperger's, autism, and all the other isms and bullshit,
Absolutely. Yeah.
these are starseeds.
Absolutely.
And I would go as far to say too, is even many people, if not all of them, that are diagnosed unfairly and linearly
Absolutely. Todd.
as mentally afflicted. They're not mentally afflicted. They're walking in both worlds.
Todd, there's lots of things that I'd love to talk about today,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe it's really awesome that you've already mentioned it, because my journey's been one of literally coming from a place of deep disempowerment through the system to one of complete transformation, and in now such a place of empowerment. And this is why now I've had the courage to come on the show.
Wow, this is going to be awesome. We have we can go 90 minutes if we want to.
Awesome.
So yeah, I want to shift the show to 90 minutes. I don't think, especially with all these women coming out, I don't think an hour is enough. I think at 90 minutes is
Probably
good.
not.
Yeah. Well, I just feel like it's taken so long for these voices to get the floor.
Oh yeah.
And
Life.
you know what I mean? And so a lot of times when we get pushed into a place where we know we have to go or whatever, there's a lot of apprehension and so on. So I feel like 90 minutes, I'm noticing that like the ones that are more holding back, it takes about 45 minutes for them to like totally relax, and then everything starts flying from there. But let's start with before we get to that, because this is going to be exciting.
Okay.
This is real good information that we don't see out there, and I'm excited to be supporting it. How did we get together? How did that happen?
I've just been watching you since it's about 2020, I think.
Okay.
And then Catherine came on your show, Catherine Kinney.
Oh, Catherine Kinney, you know her. Oh, I won't hold that against you. Okay.
I feel I'm going to laugh a lot, Todd.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Absolutely. Isn't it beautiful? And one evening, I was watching Colin Lively, a lady we had on last week, I believe.
Yeah, wasn't that amazing? Wasn't she?
It was.
They've all been so incredible. Oh my God, I just like want to cry. I'm not kidding, because like last week was such a tough. It was such a tough week, like
Todd,
I could
so much to share.
right. Yeah, it could just like you could feel like, and
Oh,
I'm telling you, I haven't been like this in 3 years. Not that we ever have much money in the bank, but
yeah,
I mean literally. And I was told you're gonna have everything wiped out. So I'm going through this past week, and the money just literally nothing. Like barely put gas in the car, etc.
yeah,
And so the whole week, the Colin Livelies of the world were stepping out. And I just kept telling myself, just keep putting the energy out there. Don't think about anything coming back in reciprocation. Don't think about anything being tied to it like abundance.
yeah,
And that's what got me through it. Like listening to these, it was incredible. So you saw
yeah.
her last week, and then you sent a note.
Literally, it was like for a while I'd watched the program and I kept, had this little voice, very little voice in my head to going, "You should go up there.
Mm,
You should go up there." And I was like, "No, too scared, can't do it, wasn't
yeah,
ready."
right,
And then
right.
I watched Colin, and before I knew it, my soul had grabbed the pen and had messaged you.
Uh-huh.
And then afterwards, when you said, "All good," my human went, "Ah!"
Yeah,
So yeah, I've had to prepare quite a lot for this.
yeah. How long? So you are wrongly, or well, you are mislabeled. You are what did you say? A neural divergent.
I'm what you call neurodivergent. So
Okay,
it basically means that you process things in a different way to how other people do.
right.
Um, it that can happen when people go through a lot of trauma, which I did. Um, but I just believe it's all the same thing, Todd. Like you said about all these people that have these labels, they would be the labels they would give me on the spectrum: ADD, ADHD.
Right.
I identify with all of them, but I don't make it my focus. I'm just me,
Yeah.
and I've just I'm really embracing who I am now for really probably the first time in my life, Todd.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, it was time to kind of
Hell to the F yeah.
woo woo.
So yeah, like this is really deep too because of your of your age group. Let's put it that way, because a lot of these people that when we think of ADHD and we think of these misnomers, these mislabels, a lot of times we think of kids and young people. I mean, I've had people tell me I was ADHD since they invented the acronym, and
Exactly.
I'm like, you know what I call it? I call it multitasking, multi-streaming. I mean, for me, I have an ability to have several balls in the air, and yes,
Yep.
my mind can float,
Yep.
and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it does, but I'm okay with it.
Yep.
I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's a highly intuitive characteristic.
Exactly. And there was something that I wanted to. It will come back to me if I
Yeah,
can't think of it. But it's
yeah, it will.
it's like yes, for me, um, I've always been tuned in to so many different streams, just like you,
Mm-hmm.
and um, and always felt the interference. Put
Mm.
it that way, which
Which,
I've now learned to. I've really come into mastery with that, of mastering my energy and not absorbing,
right.
as such a deep, deep empath. It was hell for me for so many years just to leave the house.
Wow.
Uh, yeah,
This is another thing too, and this has really come into light this year. But whenever I got into these communities in 2012 when we started Soulogy, uh, I saw a lot of empath groups, and I saw a lot of conversations and support systems within social media regarding empaths. And I
Yeah.
couldn't really relate. It took me a long time to understand that I was, like all of us, I guess, an empath, which I just saw as intuition and knowing and such. And I didn't have a lot of the attributes that go with super empath, waking
Yeah.
up in this
Yeah.
transition on or about circa 2012. But what I'm saying is that what I came to realize this year is how deep the social phobia or antisocial kind of element that they have. Also, some other things that weren't really things that I could relate to, and then I
Yeah.
started to realize how much some of these people are literally ETs in a human body with few lives. See, right? So I guess you can relate to that.
So much.
Yeah.
Like, I have so much to share.
Go ahead.
So much. Okay. So I've actually written down a few bits and pieces, Todd, because I need like a little bit of a framework.
Perfect.
Just keep me focused because of the
Yeah.
different streams.
Perfect.
Um, so I suppose where would I start? I'll start where I did start on the page. So you know, I'm a natural healer and a channel since birth. Psychic medium, intuitive healer. Um, use inner child healing, hands on, hands off, remote, color. I use my consciousness, my breath. I'm a Reiki master. Um, I would call myself an inspirer. I use numerology. I'm a psychic artist.
Mm.
And I work with the collective. I've been receiving a lot of information from the collective. I also work with Source Energy, Metatron,
Mm.
uh, Archangel Michael, Mother Mary, Lord Sananda, Lord Maitreya, Buddha, Kuan Yin, Merlin. Thomas Edison came through, and lots of other philosophers, lots of celestials, galactics, and the elemental realm. Um, so yeah, I've always worked with people with certain issues, and even though that I'm a natural healer and a medium, I needed some support too to to um, really help me come into a state of empowerment. Um, so yeah, I've been working with a coach like for all of this year, who really understands me and gets me, and has enabled me to focus, bring that focus in, because I was all over the shop and because I do so many things. It was quite overwhelming for me to actually understand what it was that I'm doing. I've always been a natural way before Reiki. So yeah, deeply empathic. And I grew up in a family that was massively dysfunctional with with well, my mum died when I was 7 months old,
Wow.
and of a brain tumor. And I never knew, Todd. I thought that my stepmother was my real mother. And when I was about 8 or 9, I had a bit of a tit for tat with my brother, and he told me, he was angry and screamed at me and said, "She's not even your mum." Of course, I went to my father, not that day, the next day, and asked him if it was true, and he just went crazy
Mm.
and said, "I'll tell you when you're older." And that was the end of the conversation. So my whole world had just like fallen apart. It was very, traumatic for me, and with my family the way it was, so many lies and secrets. Um, kind of the truth was always hidden from me, and unfortunately, my stepmother, um, you know, a lot of people band around that word narcissist, and I don't even really like to use it. However, she was a lady that had experienced her own deep trauma,
Of course.
and she was very cruel, very abusive,
Yeah. Very.
neglectful, and all the rest of it,
And in a lot of pain, I would. And
in an awful lot of
I
pain.
agree with you on the term and those associated with it, narcissist. Um, you
Yeah,
cannot be an empath. You cannot be an empath and not be a narcissist. It's their
we are
polarity.
all capable
Right, that's what I'm
of
saying. They're polarities because if you
absolutely.
have the experience of an empath, like so many people do, you are going to have experienced victimization.
Yeah,
And that victimization has really occurred because of our unconscious programming. We gave our power away. So,
absolutely.
owning the empath, you cannot own the empath without owning the narcissist. I am a narcissist. I don't know if I would, I'm like you, I don't know if I use that term. I'd say I have narcissistic sensitivities and frequencies, just like I
Mm,
have empathic sensitivities and frequencies.
yeah,
And all you have to do, and I just mentioned this because to me it's like a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. It's not talked about, but to me, like if I can understand that as an empath, the thing that like brings us all together is we gave our power away because our heart was open. So therefore, we played a role for that other polarity, and I think that they both go together. In a, I'm really happy to hear you describe your situation like so many people can relate to
yeah,
with such objectivity.
yeah. I mean, you know, she behaved in terrible ways and did terrible things. Um, yeah, and I went on to, just be completely disempowered and, hook up with a man who was also very disempowered and abusive, and that there's been that in my life too, Todd. Um, and really having a family that just did not understand me at all. I was always, people call it the psychedelic sheep, don't they? I call it the scapegoat.
Yeah.
Um, I definitely was that. Um, so I think when we were talking about when you said, the energy, um, last week when I contacted you, um, so for a couple of weeks, I feel the energy, the collective so deeply. I feel it in the land. Um, I believe it's geopathy. Um, and I feel it in my body, Todd, like, a lot of us do. So, first off, my neck and my shoulders, I was like this, um, and then my ear started. I mean, the energy, the fire energy that comes through me, the Kundalini, is absolutely crazy. I've really had to learn to work with it. And So I started to feel this energy in my ear, and the next thing I had a great big tooth abscess.
Wow.
And I've had tooth abscesses before, and for anyone that's had one, they'll understand quite how debilitating,
Mm-hmm.
painful. It has a life of its own heartbeat. Um, you can't sleep. It's apart from labour, it's the most painful thing ever. I kind of feel.
Wow.
So it came up, and I felt that this energy is, although it's in my body and it's also to do with my energy, it's the collective energy. I could feel the tension, I could feel the stress, I could feel the feminine being suppressed, and like this growing eruption that's taking place and is going to take place more. I felt that in this. Um, I couldn't actually get any help from a dentist. It was crazy. And I didn't want to go anyway because I'd had lots of work done on my teeth.
Okay.
And it's not an experience that I really treasure, going to the dentist. I found it quite tricky,
Mm.
but I've been really working with that. So I decided I would heal it myself. And there were times during it that, I sat and cried in pain and felt, maybe I need some antibiotics, but I just couldn't get them anyway.
Wow.
So well, as you can see, you can't really see it now. It's gone. There's no pain. There's nothing. Every
Dude,
now and there's a little
that's
twinge.
amazing though. Like, because not only is an abscess, it's actually potentially fatal. I mean, I
Yeah,
know it's not a huge percentage, but it's definitely
yeah.
got to be like 5%, 10% possibility. So you actually, because the first thing they do when you go in is they give you penicillin, right?
Yeah,
So you didn't have anything to fight the infection, and you handled everything on your own. How long did that take?
a week.
Wow, that's
I
impressive.
used I used some colloidal silver as well
Okay.
because I felt if it was infected, it's I use it a lot. It's pretty magical. So yeah, I used colloidal silver and my own healing. I actually went into the pain, Todd. I actually went into the pain, and see, this is the thing that I find difficult to explain because I can't even really tell you what I did.
You talk to
But
it. You communicate with it. You. Yeah, I
absolutely,
totally. I think people totally get that now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I spoke to it. I asked it questions
Right.
to discern whose energy it was, and what the message was, because it was definitely a message.
Okay.
Um, throat, feminine, left hand side. Gosh, so much to say. Maybe more will come. I think I want to mention as well, I've kind of mentioned that, I took back my power for all those years of being disempowered. When I was 14, I tried to take my own life. And I had a lot of that over the years, Todd. There were many times that I was in hospital
Yeah.
and pretty much written off with lots of labels and things that were pretty horrific, really.
Yeah.
Um,
Treatment and medications.
all
Okay.
sorts.
Okay. Yeah.
I was on. That's all they did for me. Every time I would go to a doctor, they would just give me more and more
Yeah.
medication. Really, I was on 5 different lots of psychiatric medication, and I was a zombie.
That's wild.
Yeah, I couldn't talk
We've had
properly.
we've had a lot of people. Well, first of all, so many of us here have been to the psych ward, to jail, to
Hello.
rehab. Yeah, to
Yeah,
because if you think about it, or at least in my experience, the experience in the psych ward, being incarcerated in jail, uh, and rehab. Some
yeah,
people here have been through inpatient or outpatient rehab. The environments are exactly the same.
yeah,
There's a predominance of pharmaceutical influence through, obviously through treatment ingestion,
yeah.
and the way the people are treated. All three
Oh,
environments are the same.
oh,
There is a insensitive institutionalization that
yeah,
is, I believe, in the design. But again, we've overcome it. Look at you. I mean,
yeah.
you're just a walking miracle.
Bless you, Todd.
It's true.
I actually feel like I am because I'm not just physically alive now. I've managed to stay alive. I'm alive, Todd.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's quite a feat, really.
Well, it is,
Um,
and I'm just saying this from talking to so many people over the years. One of the things that I really feel is important about this show is to talk to people like you so they can explain their story and their experience, because there are people that it's happening to right now, right?
exactly,
But the thing
exactly.
is in your generational age range, for you to go through what you did and so many other people, many didn't make it. Many did not make it, and I think
There was,
these, yeah,
mm,
I think these younger generations, like say the ones that have been kind of like taken on in the 2000s, right? For the last 20 years, it's still an uphill climb, but it's not like it was 30, 40 years ago. I mean, seriously, uh, we have more and more people come on here. Similar story. I have a feeling yours was a bit more intense, but the liberation from medication has been a key characteristic of their expansion and evolution.
yeah. I mean, in a way, that there are so many sides to things. It's like there I was in this, these places, these psychiatric hospitals, where there's some staff that are have have a heart,
Right.
and some that really don't. It's just a job to them, and you're pretty much subhuman.
Yeah. That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
but I feel like it's crazy really when I look back, Todd, because I often feel that I was sent there. That's where I did a lot of work. I helped a lot of people
Yeah.
when I was in hospital because when spirit has come through, a lot of people that I knew in those places came back to thank me for helping them. A lot who didn't make it, but often came back to thank me for whatever it is that I did for
It's
them.
powerful.
It is really, really powerful. Yeah.
We have a friend that's come on a few times. She's kind of uh, not into that, not coming on the show, but I convince her every now and then. Her name's Pamela Johnson. So
Okay.
she has an interesting story because uh, when the harmonic convergence hit in 1987 or shortly thereafter, she had her reawakening at a very deep level, and she ended up in the psych ward.
Yeah.
And what happened was she met 5 or 6 star seeds just like herself in that experience in the psych ward. So it actually helped her ground into the memories, of her reality. Very powerful.
Yeah. 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 Um, it was really interesting because there were people in there that would make a beeline for me. There was one lady called Mary, and they said she had schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Well, I don't believe in all that rubbish. I don't believe in all these labels. The people that are in there are generally our healers and our seers and our prophets.
That's right.
And I knew that on such a deep level, Todd. So this lady Mary, she used to come to me, and she used to say, "I see ghosts."
Mm-hmm.
And she would always sit with me. She was very vulnerable, very frail. And I just used to listen and say, "Do you, Mary?" And she'd say, "Yes." And I knew she did, and she knew that I knew that she did. There were many people like that in there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Crazy places. But you know what? Um, honestly, for me, there were so many times where I couldn't go on anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do this life anymore. And after the last time that I did try to take my life, it was so serious. I, was lucky to kind of survive, I feel. And shortly after that, my dad died. I'd never grieved for my mum. How do you grieve for somebody that you never knew? So it's like I didn't have that sense of identity. Um, so I just literally prayed, pretty much, and was kind of like, screaming out, "Bloody help me."
Yeah.
My kids, where are you?
Yeah.
Show me the way. And within an hour, I'd signed up to do a Reiki course, and that's what really opened up the channel for me, Todd, and to really bring me into mastery, to start to, I'd done so much healing over the years, but
How long ago was this when you took on Reiki?
2016.
Okay. And I've heard a lot of people say, and it must be true. I've never done it, not officially, but that Reiki is kind of like the door for a lot of people. And I was just
Absolutely.
wondering, in case somebody can use this information, like if somebody's just starting to wake up or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you obviously were ultra sensitive. Like you were,
Oh,
so you've had all this experience. 2016 comes around. You, from a higher knowing, reach for Reiki, and I'm just curious, like from your
well, Reiki
perspective.
kind of found me.
Yes. Oh, it found you.
I
Well,
think it found me.
yeah. There you go. Well, yeah. Or you called it
Yeah.
in, or something, or it called you, right?
Yeah.
But like,
My
like, how did that? How did the Reiki help you, and potentially how will it help other highly sensitive people that are coming into their own right now? Like, how did it actually help you? Did it help you ground, or did it help you have more confidence in what you've been experiencing your whole life and the different? No.
it was the most profound thing. I mean, literally the day I had my attunement. I mean, I'd always experienced spirit. I'd felt them. I heard them in my head. Um, I heard them with my ears.
Hmm.
I saw things. Um, so the minute I was attuned to Reiki, I just sobbed. I literally sobbed, and I saw celestial beings. It literally opened up the channel for me. It literally switched a light on. Uh, It was so powerful, Todd. I mean, that first year, I spent the whole year crying every day, probably for about 5 hours a day. I was literally grieving. I tried my whole life to let go of this trauma. And I mean, the way I see it, Reiki is light language. It's an ancient technology. Um, it kind of, I was always connected, but it kind of just, I could transmute. All my past lives were coming to, well, I don't, yeah, parallel lives. There's no past, present, future. I was seeing other incarnations. It just, everything just
So, okay,
came to me.
I'm not a. I have never, I have never looked into Reiki, but I hear people
Okay.
talk about it all the time, and I have a bit of an understanding of it. Uh,
Yeah.
and I know it has to be some type of innate practice, or ancient practice, because I can remember as a with my children, like I had this one child that had these growing pains that would wake him up in the middle of the night, and I would go in and just put my hands on his knees where most of the pain was, and it would go away. So I
Yeah.
knew something. That was before I officially woke up. But
Because
like
Todd,
when,
you're an 11 life path, aren't you?
yes,
So we share the 11,
okay,
and that is what the 11 is. The wounded healer.
oh, okay, okay.
So
Well, I was wondering, because my friend Denise, she mentioned atonements and something else she said earlier. So I'm wondering, like, when you talk about Reiki and how it opened up things for you, was it when you were working on people, or was it when you were doing something to yourself?
well, firstly, it was me, um, but certainly, I mean, I suppose now, I'm a Reiki master, but before I'm a natural healer, so I feel like I've combined Reiki
Mm,
with my own
right, right,
style of
right,
healing.
right.
Um, yeah, I use a lot of breath and my consciousness. I was lucky enough to be attuned to both lineages of Reiki, kind of like the traditional Japanese Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of techniques. It's all very not so much hands on, but more using your awareness, your consciousness.
Okay.
So yeah, did I answer your question, Todd?
Well, I mean, I think you answered it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I mean, you
cool.
know, I don't know if everybody picked up on this, but you went through an entire life from day one of being highly, highly super sensitive, like many people. And
Yeah,
like we both said, many people didn't make it through
yeah.
that period that you're finding this all out. So really, Reiki was a huge. In other
It's
words, if
saving a life, Todd.
well, that's what I was going to say. Because it's, I've heard enough people talk about how it gets a lot of people in the door. But for someone to have that level of experience to the extremes that you have, uh, and then to be in 2016
Mm.
and be able to stabilize and and then of course fortify and expand your field from Reiki, I think that's an important thing and might help some people.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, I it's a beautiful modality.
Mm,
You know, I mean, and that's what Reiki is. It's an energy healing system,
right,
because we are Reiki.
right,
Everybody is Reiki,
right.
universal life force.
Now, you mentioned your practice as a healer it seems like for quite a while, officially or not, whatever. Do you see a lot of clients each week?
At the moment, no, but that's kind of why I've come here, Todd,
Okay,
because my soul knows which direction it wants to go, even if my human goes no.
right.
Uh, yeah, so I have so many gifts. Um, and you know what I want to say is, no matter where you've come from, no matter where you are now, you can come from the deepest disempowerment into a state of empowerment. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage. For me, it was like I had to choose to stay or to not stay. And I chose to stay. And I know why now, because there are so many people that are in disempowerment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really surprising, is it,
Well,
with what's been happening?
I mean, the whole thing was set up.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole thing was set up to be. Well, you know how it's it can be so complicated, but I mean, really, it's
absolutely.
a consciousness situation. So
Yes.
the whole thing was set up to diminish our perspective of ourselves and to keep us from looking for what we look for externally within ourselves. I mean, so
Yeah.
yeah, and like you mentioned so many different things that were involved or are involved in your whole makeup of your experience. Uh, can you just like give me an idea? Like if I come in the door and I say, I would imagine every session probably is a totally different session for you. I would think, just the way you're built with all the tools in your toolbox.
Mm.
But like if I came in the door, what's your usual? How do you start and where do you go with it? Because you mentioned many divine essences. How do they come in? How do they present themselves? I mean, I don't know. Can you just kind of give us a general thing?
Um. Yeah. That's. So just bear with me.
You got all the time in the world. There's no rush.
I suppose I have so many different ways that can help somebody. Um, I like to. I think I just like to have a chat, really,
Mm,
and with somebody, and just feel into what it is that they need.
mm-hmm.
So everything with me is intuitive. Um, so yeah, my voice, um, sound healing, hands-on healing, remote healing, um, working with spirit, working with nature, working with art, with creativity, with color. That's something that I've been embracing for the past year or so. I suppose it's been deeply, deeply healing for me. I know how deeply healing it is for people. Um, yeah, is this what you meant, Todd? Is this answering your question?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, like, I'm just trying to get a picture of what's your world like. I mean, you mentioned archangels, angels, I'm sure galactics, elementals, nature beings, animals, totem spirits. I mean, uh,
trees,
which, you know,
the
a lot,
water, the grass.
yeah, because I think as time goes on, some people are more ET, for lack of a better way, and some people are more earthy and organic. And then there's some people that have like access to it all, which sounds like what you do.
I
Have you
think I'm one of those kind of people, Todd.
have
Which
you
one?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Why it was so tricky to kind of understand myself in a way. Um, mm, yeah, definitely very, and I always found the 3D world just mad, like a lunatic asylum.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. We see it for what it is, and they tell us we're wrong, we're crazy, and we're weird, and we're the misfits. But now all the crazy
And of
people
course,
are coming together, and we're the vast majority.
yeah. And when I was younger, you see, that's what I was
Right.
told.
Of course.
You're mad,
Mm-hmm.
you're this, you're that. And being such a deeply sensitive child, I soaked in all of that. And pretty much, when the system pretty much said the same thing to me, I kind of accepted it for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for as much fuckery has gone on with, and we'll just pick one thing: pharmaceuticals,
Oh, yeah.
in the whole medical system, institutionalization. The trying to indoctrinate or
Yeah.
alter, especially these young kids. But it's not
Yeah.
working. It's not working.
It's very
It's
disturbing.
it's really
Yeah.
not working. Because I talk to more and more people. I mean, they
Yeah.
had my daughter, because she was wrongfully uh, institutionalized by a family member
Yeah.
who had some trauma and wanted to project it onto my daughter. So, but it
Absolutely.
doesn't matter. But so this is how it happens. It doesn't always have to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but what I'm saying is, and I've talked to some other young people too, but like she took herself off medication.
That's exactly what
Yeah,
I did, Todd.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm, in my heart, I absolutely believed that. For me, it was the best thing that I ever did because it made me so sick,
yeah.
so sick. And I just literally went cold turkey.
Wow,
And I
that's
was
that's so
back.
crazy, and that's so dangerous for a lot of
I
people.
know.
I
Yeah.
mean, my second wife was diagnosed schizophrenic and chronic depression and uh, manic depression. Uh, and two things. One, even if you're there with them, and she was only getting 100 milligrams of Seroquel. My understanding is there's people taking almost 1,000 a day.
I was on 350 a
Okay, so
day.
350. She took 100 grams. Now she was about 115 pounds, so I don't know if that makes a difference. But I'm living with her and didn't realize how much of a hold and it had on her, because what would happen is I believe you would take it at night because it's a
Yes,
tranquilizer
absolutely.
and a sedative.
Yeah.
So I think the idea behind it was they sleep through the night and then they're kind of calm during the day. Well,
Yeah, it has a
it
bit of time to wear off. You
yeah,
need that.
but
That's
but it was
fine.
like
Never
crazy.
go
It was
anywhere.
crazy because it took me like months to realize we would actually have conversations and other things in the evening, and the next day she would have no memory of it at all, nothing. And I'm thinking, whoa. And then to the other point that you mentioned, because that's not an easy thing to do. I've never done it, but I've known people that have been, whether it be recreational, what we might call recreational drugs, or pharmaceuticals that have gone cold turkey, and it can be very, very rough. Did you have a rough time?
No. Well, yes, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. However, I had to commit my life fully. And for me, the only way of doing that, I mean, the last time I went to the doctors, I mean, I came off all medication years ago, Todd. About 2014, I think.
Wow.
And literally, I didn't have a life. I was a zombie. I just laid on the sofa. I couldn't do anything. I didn't go anywhere. I was highly, highly, highly anxious. I would have meltdowns. Couldn't go to the supermarket. And it just made life really difficult. There were certain expectations from my children, uh, obviously, and there were times where I was here, but I wasn't here. I mean, I checked out with trauma years ago. So
Wow. That's a whole other spin to your story. You're a mother.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And do you know what, Todd? Now I have the most incredible relationship with both my parents, my birth parents, who are both in spirit, and they talk to me all the time. When it first started happening, I was just kind of like, okay, and I didn't trust it as much as I do now. I've learnt to say that, I trust my knowing 100%.
Yeah.
I trust my body 100% because I wasn't in my body. I would disassociate and leave my body. And I'm very blessed and very grateful that I've had the help from spirit, because that's who's really helped me. And this year, of course, my coach, who's a beautiful soul. Um, yeah. So that was the story, and really, it was my training, Todd. My
Yeah.
whole life has been one initiation after another.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said for the disassociation, which, like, I know from just talking to different people, similar circumstances, at the end of the day, they're the same. And that is because a lot of them you'll hear about that were sexually traumatized as a child. Uh, those that it happened to repeatedly, uh, leaving their body.
Mm.
Um, but eventually coming to light is that these horrific episodes that flushed them out of their body actually enable them to develop a tighter connection with, infinite intelligence and
Well,
other
spirit.
aspects. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And
when I
then and
use
then
the
you
word
have to come
spirit,
back
I
into the
mean
body now.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah.
I call spirit everything, because everything is spirit.
So do you have like primary guides? I mean, there's no right answer. I'm just curious. Or do you have just like this whole team? You mentioned your parents. Do you just
Yeah,
different?
they come in and give me encouragement and tell me how
Mm,
proud of me they are,
mm,
which is really beautiful, Todd, because my dad never said that to me when he was alive. He wasn't able to.
wow.
But now, that's changed. That's very, very different. And I'm very blessed in that way. Um, when I said earlier I don't think there's one kind of main guide. I mean, I've always worked with Archangel Michael for years and years and years. Lord Sananda, so Yeshua, he can be quite predominant. Metatron, really, source
Source.
energy. Yeah.
You
Uh,
mentioned you mentioned earlier, amongst all the different facets of your experience, you mentioned that you do pick up on excuse me, you do pick up on collective information.
yeah.
Can you tell us what the hell's going on right now? Just
Oh gosh, no pressure. I mean, I'm very aware that we've just been through like another major kind of like upgrade, another massive shift. Now, I could feel it coming because I start to feel like anxiety, or I look out my window and I can feel people's how they're feeling outside if I go to the supermarket, the shops.
mm,
So like I feel like, and you can see it out in the 3D in the physical world with the way people are around, especially where I live. It's very countrified. People driving like lunatics. I feel like people are very, very stressed, very tense, very. It's almost like that for a diamond to
mm-hmm,
shine, it has to come under that
mm-hmm.
pressure, and it's almost like I truly believe, I truly, truly, deeply know that we are we're in this I know that we're in this creation energy, and it is so so super important to be kind, Todd, to be kind, especially to the people that are not aware of what we are aware of, because I feel people losing their shit. They It's almost like they know, they feeling it, and I've had conversations with a friend recently with her children who are have been, I don't like these words, awake, asleep, aware, but maybe haven't been aware in the way we have been,
Right.
starting to almost like a game of Jenga. You just press one little bit
Mm-hmm.
and then it can kind of fall, and they're witnessing it, they're like feeling it. um so for me it really is about, and don't get me wrong, sometimes people, the way they behave, I struggle with it sometimes, but it's just really about compassion, coming home to your heart. We are creating this world. um our thoughts are so important, what we focus on, what we give our energy to. Well, these are probably all the things that you've already heard and already know for yourself, but I feel that really deeply. And also, Another reason why I'm here, is because there are so many people that are not in a great way
Yeah.
that really need our help. Really, really need our help. And I see it's only becoming more and more intense, you could say.
Yeah.
I'd really encourage, people like me that have sat in the background, hidden in the spiritual closet, to really get the help and support that you need to get yourself in that place of empowerment, so we can then support others. It's that whole kind of creation energy, that flow, that moving energy that's moving through all of us, even if we're aware of it or not quite so aware of it.
Yeah.
Just that.
Yeah, we had a guest on yesterday that channeled a particular Arcturian uh, whatever entity or whatever, um,
Yeah.
and through
Um,
but and I want to tie this to what you're talking about. It's so important. So through the conversation with her, she was, because I was asking questions. She was relaying to us several things. Like one, she said humans kill humans, and I was like, well, don't other species kill their own as well? Aren't there some anyway? Maybe not Arcturians. So in other words, we started to get into this conversation that like I might have with you, like with a human being, right? Even though she was channeling. Well, one of the things that came out of it was how all of these aspects and species are here to help us.
yes.
How we're looked at kind of like, and she didn't say this in no disrespect to anyone, but kind of like the redheaded stepchildren, the black sheep, the ones that just don't get it. Now I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking to and I kind of turned it on her yesterday because I said I'm here to represent the human. We're equal to you, etc. And I'm probably a little too gung ho about that, but that's how I feel. But listening
Mm,
to you and the compassion that you have, because what it's telling me is that there are many of us in these light workers, starseed, whatever you want to call them, communities that actually
yeah.
look at other earthlings the way that some of these sanctimonious aspects look at us. We are not subordinate to them, and these brothers and sisters are not subordinate to us. So I really appreciate the fact that you can carry that frequency to the level of embodiment.
Mm,
It's important, and this is just one example of why those like you and those that you speak of get whatever assistance and support that you need to facilitate your own expansion and get out here and share your story, because it's just one thing like that somebody
yeah.
can pick up, or the thing about kicking cold turkey, or your own experiences in the psych ward. I mean, these are what people need to hear. Not all the modalities anymore. Not all the let me tell you how to fix yourself. No,
Yeah.
like this is what happened to me. This is how I feel. This is what I know through my experience.
Absolutely. And, this was the path that my soul chose.
Mm.
With my numbers. I just laughed when I discovered my numbers. It made so much sense to me. I also use numerology, Todd.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh, to have two master numbers, and then your divine soul's purpose to be a 44.
44.
Uh, yeah. it just made me laugh, really. Um, you know, the fact that, I chose this incarnation, and I've literally soldiered on for years and years and years. I never gave up. And everybody has this capacity to heal. People just need a helping hand.
Yes. Well, at least, at minimum, because being ourselves can be a full-time job. I mean, especially given this assignment that we've all taken on. But but like you said about the thoughts, right? I don't think we understand how we can energetically attack others. We can energetic through our thoughts, even if we think, oh,
Absolutely.
she made me mad, I'm pissed off at her. It doesn't have to be explicit, formulated,
A lot of
bullets of
it's very
attack, right?
unconscious,
It's
Todd.
just, yeah, and I think that that's a really good point to pull from is how, really, I mean, what is more powerful than our thoughts in this particular incarnation, where you have a physicality and you have um, you have a ripple from your
Yeah.
thoughts into the physicality. Call it manifestation, call it instant manifestation, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, what's more powerful than our thoughts?
Well, we're computers, aren't we?
Quite possibly. Organic AI. That's why I love when people come on and say, "Oh, AI, fear AI." I'm like, what are we? You know, what is anything that's been created from the one?
Exactly. What I know is you can rewire your brain,
Mm,
is what I've done. And yes, thoughts are, it's so important, so important that we become aware of the language that we're using.
yeah,
Of course, I love etymology. I've always,
me too.
yeah,
Me too. It
yeah,
teach you a lot. It can teach you a lot. It really can.
absolutely. And it makes such sense, doesn't it? When you look at a lot of words and you just know what that word means because it's kind of connected to another word. Yeah, I love words because I
And
write as
symbol
well.
and
I've always
symbols.
written.
Yeah, a lot of these the etymological roots are tied to symbols as well,
Yeah,
right? So you start looking at symbology, and you
yeah,
start looking at the root derivatives of words, and what was the original intention? What does it? You know what I mean? Like the word apocalypse means
oh yeah,
unveiling. Uh, I saw another one today, or somebody just put one up about Reiki. It meant harmony and something else. So, yeah, it's interesting. Even
yeah,
if you look at the word Allah, Amen, Yeshua, a lot of these have like they're woven in together, and they're even like hybridized. It's crazy how this can happen. Like, I mean, it's just crazy. But you were saying something too about, I don't know how you put it, but maybe I'm picking it up telepathically, but like being direct, you know, being like the gatekeeper of our thoughts, which then is going to translate into a more, um, a more perfect language, a more easy and graceful communication. Because let's face it, not only do my thoughts alter, but when I hear something from you, because my perception is different than yours, then then I immediately go into, we're throwing gasoline on the fire because I go into my own loops, and it starts
Me
that
too,
whole,
Todd.
yeah, you know.
Me too. And that happens to me. You know, it's kind of funny. You know that there are some people that maybe weren't so conscious of the words they used. And one man said to me years ago, banged me on the head with his knuckles and said, "The lights are on, but no one's home." And oh, I was definitely there. I was definitely there, but I was also in other places too. You know, with other streams of consciousness coming in. So yeah, focus is really like important. The language that's used, because I've been I've experienced both sides of that coin, Todd. From being in that such a disempowered, you know, suicidal state, really, to someone who feels such deep joy and deep love and deep compassion and has forgiven. Um, what I need you to forgive. Um,
Did you have to? Did you have to spend? There's no right answer, but did you have to spend a lot of time or an inordinate amount of time on forgiving yourself, or was it really more with the people that? Uh,
it was both. I mean, you know, in the earlier days, um, when I would have, you know, quite thoughts that, you know, didn't feel so great. Yeah, there was, you know, a lot of work I had to do with forgiveness for, you know, other people, but I soon learned that actually it was me that needed to forgive myself. That was the most, and acceptance and forgiveness were big ones for me. Um,
I don't know what's going on here. It's a telepathy, intuition, connection. I don't. Were you? Did things happen to you in the psych ward, mental hospitals, whatever, or did you observe things, or things happen to you?
both.
I don't know.
Um,
This is freaking me out because I'm actually like watching it happen. Like, and I don't think you mentioned anything like that. But I mean, like, that's pretty deep.
yeah.
How did you? Is that when you or those that you observed, I guess, would leave their body? Things would happen, and it makes you wonder too. Like my friend Pamela's story and your story, how there can be such a high frequency band, at least available in a place like that. I saw it in the county jail when I was in one time for 34 days. I was amazed. How does
I saw.
this, how does that happen? I mean, like, I don't know.
Do you know what? Because everything is of creation. I know that there's, you know, the whole AI thing and like all of that. Like, to be honest, I try not to get too, because I can't get too bogged down in stuff. You know, it really affects my frequency. So I know enough to know kind of what happens, but isn't everything creation?
Yeah, of course. And
Uh,
maybe that type of environment is just really accentuates the polarity. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe because
yeah,
there's such fuckery going on that the the same degrees of light, so to speak, are available, and that's why you see, because
Absolutely.
it's a really interesting
Yeah. I mean, some of I mentioned a little bit earlier, like I've always written, I'm a writer, call it flowetry because it literally just flows out of me. It's channeling, really. Um, and it was really in some of my darkest moments
yeah.
that when I couldn't sleep and I would feel the need to just sit and write,
Mm.
that such beauty came out of me. So when you're, in the depths, the deepest, darkest depths of despair, you're so alone.
Mm.
There's still that. There's still that alignment.
Mm-hmm.
When people talk about being out of alignment, yeah, absolutely. Disempower.
Wow.
It is in the moments of that real human grit
Yeah.
that the most beautiful. It's. I feel so much like to say that you understand what I mean, Todd. These are the gifts.
Yeah.
These are the gifts.
Yeah. I said many times, when I reawoke in 2011, I hit the streets by my own choice for 2 years. I never thought anyone could understand the story, and I've never gone into full detail, but I said many times that I've just proven, or I'm proving, that you can lose your fucking mind and find the light at the same time.
You know what is the best thing that ever happened to me? And it happened to me when I was very, very, very young. So it was very difficult because I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. However, yeah, absolutely. I feel that deeply in my knowing. Like I said earlier, everything I've been through and experienced has led me to where I am today. And that is why I know that, I'm put on this planet to help others, to enable them to empower themselves. Because we can heal
Mm.
no matter where we've been. This can happen
I'm just
if,
think,
if you desire that.
yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking about what you said, misalignment, and then thinking about the psych wards in jail and the range of extreme or polarity and the apparent substantial sustained presence of the 0 point field, even though people are walking in and out of it. And I'm just thinking in my own, or any of us, what is misalignment but not owning both and any and all polarities within yourself? You know what I mean? Like whatever's on the table at that time, be it dark and light, be it empath, narcissist, be it whatever it is. But in that moment, with whatever's presented, not I'm not trying to like minimize anything. I'm just saying, God, I wonder if it's that simple to be able to say, yeah, that's me and that's me too, and I stand in the middle, and the middle is all there is, right? I mean, I don't know. It's interesting, with your description of, what that has been like.
Hmm. I mean, I have so many stories and so many, kind of. Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to start. I mean, there's many books there, Todd. Um,
What's the biggest thing that ever happened to you? Like with all the diversity of your experience and the different streams and channels, like what was the thing that like blew your mind? Like, did I just see this? Is this really happening?
Oh gosh. Well, I saw a fairy. I was just breathing one day, just doing a bit of relaxation, and a screen opened up,
Mm,
and there were two fairies dancing. I saw the trees. It was real as you and I, Todd,
mm-hmm,
and it blew. This was actually in 2016.
mm.
It blew my mind. It absolutely blew my mind. Um, yeah, I mean, gosh, like, this was a funny one. Okay, so 2019, it was quite a tricky year, and I'd quit cigarettes, and then something had happened, and in my kind of like disempowerment, I got in my car and drove to Sainsbury's, ready to buy some tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to pull in. I heard a voice in the car, like it was sitting next to me on the chair, so very loudly, "Do you really want to do that?"
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
That was a great one. And I just literally was so kind of. I was shocked, but not just shocked because I'd heard spirit before,
Mm-hmm.
but it was such a small contained space in my car.
Right.
And I kind of was belligerent, went into the shop, but the voice was, so encompassing. I thought, no, I don't want to do that at all. So I drove home without buying tobacco.
That worked. It was probably like but I don't really consider myself someone that hears voices, although I hear
Yes,
third eye like
yes,
a lot of people. But
yeah,
two times I've had a voice, which the only difference to me is one happens inside the head, but these two times this voice was outside the body. and
yeah,
and one of them, and if they'd have said something like with more than two words, I think I would have probably died. But like one was get out, like, but it was like almost like a demon voice. It was a powerful, dark voice, and as time went on, I realized it was me. I was in a bad situation, and it was like get out. I mean, it was like freaky scary, and because there
yeah,
was only two words, I didn't get out. I thought, wow, that was weird. You know
yeah.
what I mean? And then,
I do know what you mean,
you know what
Todd.
I mean? That was like, but yeah, I wonder about stuff like that because I have a curious mind. But I know that was me. I just know it like I'm standing here, but I can't explain it. What was that? Was that my higher self? Was that an aspect of me? Or I don't know. Yeah. So
Yes.
so we'll have to get together again in a few weeks.
I'd really love to, Todd. It's been
Yeah, I
great.
think it's important to allow those like you to come on and get comfortable, and then come on like with a follow up. I think that'll be important. I think that'll be something valuable for the community. But just before we get out of here, and first of all, thank you so much for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence and being so open and intimate. Um, that takes a lot of guts, and I think the more people are doing it, the more that are going to do it. But I was just curious before we get out here. Well, first of all, is there anything you would like to do? I don't know if you want to tap in or if you want to do a poem or whatever, if you want to.
I did write something that I have 10 million pads, Todd, that I write in. So and I saw this morning, and I wrote it on the 12th of the first 21. So
12.
you've got
Okay.
12 1 21, and then you read that the other way, 12 1 21. So there's some numbers there.
So this was January the 12th, 2021.
Yes.
Okay.
So this just flowed through me. Shine on. Shine on, dear one. You are energy, light, and love. Never is there a day you are not noticed. Never is there a day when you are not loved. Even in your darkest moments, you are still oozing with love and light. Stand strong in your light. Stand strong in your truth. Light is information. What do you seek? Everything you seek is seeking you. All the answers lie within you. You will find the light in your darkness. Your heart knows the way through the worry, the grief, the despair. For without these emotions, we cannot find our way to the light. This is the bridge to the heart, where the light and the answers you seek lie waiting to connect to your true essence. You are noticed, you are loved, you are truth, you are love.
Mm. Wow, that was perfect. That was really perfect. I thought it was a great way to end it. It's a pleasure meeting you. I look forward to working with you again. You're very, very beautiful and very courageous, and thank you for sharing it. And again, those like you, those like her, y'all want to come on, just send me a message, soulogynetwork@gmail.com, or what other message boards or whatever. So yeah, thank you, Pam. You take
Thank you,
care.
Todd.
Peace
We'll
out.
speak soon. Mwah.
Okay, take care.